this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
You're listening to a podcast, so you're doing something else too, like maybe scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving places you like without thinking you'll get them, because that's what house hunting has become. But Redfin isn't built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, which means when you find a place you love, you've got a real shot at getting it. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis-Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love getting outside, whether it's a quick walk or a mindful few steps between meetings, or even a longer run to just clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that for me is shoes that just don't feel right. That's why I started wearing Ultra Running. With the Ultra Fit, every step feels comfortable, balanced, and strong. Like my feet can finally move freely. What really stood out to me was the roomy toe box. My toes actually now have room to spread out, which makes movement feel more natural and comfortable. And when your feet aren't cramped, you feel more balanced, like every step has a strong, stable foundation. I've noticed that with extra space, my foot muscles get to work building strength, so I can actually move with more confidence. Ultra fits and moves with you no matter your pace or your goals. Beginner or marathon runner, they've really become my go-to for any kind of running or training, and I always feel like my feet can do exactly what they're meant to do. Feel the difference by visiting ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ultra, A-L-T-R-A, running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
The new Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupa is at Taco Bell. You can't get just one. Okay, so that's not like some marketing hyperbole. You literally can't get just one. They come in twos. So like, if you want just one, you're going to need to find a friend who loves slow-roasted chicken, bacon, and avocado ranch sauce. Or a friend of a friend, or have an awkward conversation with a complete stranger to see if they're obsessed with chicken, bacon, and avocado ranch. Or you could just like eat them both because you're obsessed with slow-roasted chicken, bacon. Okay, you get the idea. The new Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupa is at Taco Bell. At participating Taco Bell U.S. locations for a limited time while supplies last.
Hello, America and the rest of the world. I'm Robert Evans, and this is yet another terrible introduction for the podcast that exists that you're listening to. And it's called Behind the Bastards, and about bad people. And that's the introduction. Sophie, do you think that's a keeper?
I mean, honestly, better than some of the ones we've done in the last couple weeks. Like,
well, I'll have to correct that and make it worse in the future.
Last episode, he just goes, Hitler!
Oh my God.
Well,
just in case we
my
forgot.
guest today, who you're hearing from, is Teresa Lee. Teresa.
What's up? How's it going?
How
I'm
are
in
you
the
doing,
studio,
Teresa?
but you're not. I can see you on a screen.
I am not.
This is cool.
I'm in the East Coast, which is terrible, and it knows it.
In general, you just hate the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean the West Coast, like
West Coast?
Yeah, exactly. We're all West Coast elites on this podcast. Yeah.
Yes, elite
Teresa,
with the three. How do they do the hacks or elite? Mm-hmm. 733 whatever. Mm-hmm. Don't at me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Teresa, you and I worked together.
We did
a number of years at a website called Cracked, where we were East or West Coast elites together. Mm-hmm. And now you have a podcast called You Can Tell Me Anything, which I've guested on once. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd like to announce right now? You also are professionally funny, which is I think is pretty cool. She has a really cute
dog named Wushu who's friends with Anderson.
She has an adorable dog. Mm-hmm.
I do have a dog. Sure. Besides being professionally funny, I'm never funny if you're not paying me, by the way. But I have a short film, so yeah, if you guys want to check it out, it's called I Think She Likes You. It came out like about a month ago, but it's still out there and can never spread the word too much considering we have no marketing money. But it's on YouTube. YouTube.com/I Think She Likes You.
Well, I'm going to ask my listeners right now to do guerrilla marketing for your show. Go spray paint an MTA station. Burn down a wealthy person's house.
No, please don't do that. Please don't.
Do you have some problem with me
don't,
urging people to commit crimes on your behalf, Teresa? Is that something you don't like?
Please do not commit crimes on my behalf. Please don't commit crimes on anyone's behalf. And just stay in school. Cool.
Teresa's saying that to be polite. This podcast is very pro-crime.
Okay,
so
cool.
Get out there,
cool.
break some laws. Break some random laws. Go jaywalking. It's a good time. It's safe.
Yeah, do it blindfolded. Definitely do that.
Yes. Yeah. That's the competitive version of jaywalking.
Competitive jaywalking.
Yeah. Yeah. The judge is the ER doctor who sees you. Teresa, have you ever heard of Basil Zaharoff?
I don't think so.
That's
have I?
good.
But wait, say the last name again.
Zaharoff. Zaharoff.
No, that was me buying time to try to think of an answer. But no, I'm going to just go with no. And you know what? If that sounds dumb, that's okay.
It's not. I had never heard of this guy until I started researching, until like right before I started researching him. He's a fascinating figure. He has more nicknames than I think almost any historical figure I've ever studied. He was called the Merchant of Death, the Armaments King, the Mystery Man of Europe, a whole bunch of them.
Out of those three, the Mystery Man of Europe really just doesn't hold up to the others. It's just that sounds like a draft's nickname.
Yeah, it was in somebody's like Google like a saved email. They're just like,
it sounds like when you text your friends to be like, "What do you think?" and they're like, "No."
Yeah. Well, he didn't choose his nicknames, but he did choose his career. And the things he did in his life are why. So this guy was the inspiration behind one of James Bond's early villains, the head of Spectre. So like one of the first Bond villains, like it was directly inspired by this guy. And he was basically a Bond villain. This is going to be a different episode than a lot because a lot of what I'm going to tell you today are lies. Because this guy told so many lies about his background that nobody knows for certain a lot of things.
Gotcha.
The dude we're talking about today is, in short, the guy who invented the international arms industry.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is like the guy who figured out like selling guns to multiple like different countries as like an international business. He's like one of the very first. Like there were a couple other people at the same time, but like he's the brilliant mind behind the arms industry. You could call him like the father of the military industrial complex. So that's our dude today.
Are
you a fan of the international arms trade?
Was that?
No. Are you a fan of the international arms trade, Teresa?
I'm usually a fan of international things, but in this case, I have to say hard no.
So your podcast is not currently sponsored by Raytheon?
I haven't checked, but I'm going to guess no. I don't think we're sponsored by a mass weapons distributor, but, I guess... we can still. I don't know. Things can surprise.
If you're listening, Raytheon, opportunity here. You could sell a lot of drones.
A small group of comedy / therapy fans who might be interested in buying weapons of mass destruction.
I happen to know, Teresa, that your podcasts have a lot of fans who are the potentates of small Eastern European nations. So, that's a. There might be some sales in there. So Prince Zacharias Basilius Zakharov was born in a small town in Anatolia, which is like Turkey, on October 6th, 1849.
Oh, he's a Libra.
There are very few... Yeah, he's a Libra. There you go. That's two in a row. They love... Yeah, we got... So there aren't a whole lot of set facts about his early life, but I called him a prince at the start, and he absolutely was not a prince. We know for a fact that he was in no way a prince, but he would lie about being a prince his entire life.
Not even by marriage?
Not even by marriage.
Okay.
Yeah. His parents were Greeks, and they'd spent most of the mid-1840s fleeing political instability as Greece fought for its independence from the Ottoman Empire. Since they were living in the Ottoman Empire for most of their lives, identifying as Greek was not an entirely safe move. So they changed the family last name from Zachariadices to Zaharoff so that they could pretend to be Russians. So from an early age, his parents are like, tell everybody we're fucking Russian. Don't let them know we're Greek. Yeah. So that's cool. Hidden as Russians, the Zakharoffs wound up living in a town named Mugla in the Anatolian Peninsula. Today we would call it Turkey, but they didn't then. Zacharias was named after his grandfather, and he lived in Mugla until he was 3, when his family decided Constantinople was a safe enough city to move to. All of this part is probably pretty accurate, but Zakharoff would spend the rest of his life trying to obscure even these very basic details of his upbringing. As an old man, he told a teenage girl that he wanted to fuck this. Quote, also he's that guy.
Okay.
Quote, my
Teresa
father was
just made
Russian.
me look like, ew.
It's one of these episodes. Okay, cool.
Well, he's a rich old arms dealer. Of course he's gonna try to have sex with children.
No.
I mean, quote, my father was Russian and my mother was Greek of the Byzantine family of Desbrasinos. In another interview published around the same time, though, he told a journalist, I was born in Anatolia. My father was of Polish origin. My mother was French with a Levantine strain. So everyone who talked to him, he would tell a different story about where his parents came from, what his upbringing was. He was just like one of those people who lied habitually about every single aspect of their lives.
I feel like with that,
He's
a
a
lot
cool
of times
guy.
you think, oh, there must be some massive secret. But in general, it's just because the truth is so boring or so uninteresting that they're just trying to obscure it.
Yeah, I think it often starts with people who just like, because the truth is so boring and they don't want to be boring. But some of those people wind up living very interesting lives. And I guess if you have this combination of lying about everything and having an interesting life, that's what it takes to be an international man of mystery.
Sure. I can see that.
Yeah.
And also if you have
which is
a
why
lot of
I lied
weapons
about
and
my
money.
upbringing. Yeah. I mean, I've followed this blueprint my entire life. So yeah, like none of you even know I'm Canadian. It's I kept that.
Yeah,
under
I've
wraps
never
for a
even
while.
seen your face. It's I don't know what you look like.
No, I always wear a mask. It's one of those president masks. Yeah. So though Zakharoff would later claim to have grown up poor, he did not. That was another lie. His family was comfortably middle class, and he attended very good schools. His mother was blind, and after school she made her son repeat all of his lessons for that day to her, which he claimed is how he sharpened his memory. His dad was in the business of importing something called attar of roses, which I think is basically a fancy rose-scented essential oil. He had to boil like 250 pounds of rose petals to get a single ounce of the liquid, so it was very valuable.
Wow.
He traveled a lot for work, and his family traveled with him. One of Zaharov's sisters was born in England, and the time abroad gave him an early experience with foreign languages and cultures. So he, again, lies about the number of languages he can speak the rest of his life and says it's like 14 or something ridiculous. But he was a polyglot, and he gets experience around the world from a young age. So there are rumors that when Zaharoff was young, a wealthy family offered to pay his tuition to an English school in the capital. These rumors usually end with allegations of that wealthy family's Masonic connections, because this guy shows up in a lot of conspiracy theories. You'll find him in a lot of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, even though he was not Jewish, because a lot of people are convinced he was Jewish because he was an arms dealer that, spoilers, helped lead the world into World War I. So yeah, that's a fun one.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sounds like these other people have to work through their issues.
Yeah, I mean, if you're any kind of important and any kind of shady, racists will decide that you must secretly be Jewish. Yeah.
Cool.
It is cool. That's exactly what it is, Teresa. It's cool. Yeah. So yeah, there's rumors that this wealthy Masonic family paid for him to go to a fancy school for shady reasons. The reality is that he probably attended this English school in Constantinople for free, because all of the English schools in the city were run by churches, and people didn't like the churches because they were Muslim and not Christian. And so the churches were always empty and would give free schooling to people just to keep them full. So that's probably how he was able to go to a good school. So Zaharoff nursed an early love of England, regarding it from the beginning as the one nation that could help him establish the kind of career that he wanted to have. One version of his background suggests that as an adolescent, he made his way over to England and attended a mid-level British boarding school. He claimed the other boys made fun of him for his foreign-sounding name, and so he adopted his middle name, Basil, as his new first name. He also says that he learned how to box so he could punch anyone who made fun of him. So that's... Yeah, one
sounds like a
story.
healthy way to cope with anger.
Yeah, I mean, people make fun of you. You learn how to punch. That's healthy. Yeah, that's the word for it.
Did Todd Phillips write this guy's life? No.
Yeah,
Robert, that was.
I think it was an inspiration
joke.
for Todd. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is like the opposite of that story.
Okay. Cool. Sorry, I'm totally distracting you. Okay.
Yeah. So there are some reasons
I'll
to
say less
believe
things.
this version of the story, because he did know a lot about English culture and knew a lot about boarding school culture in England. But people who later looked through the records of all of those schools, there's no evidence that he actually attended any of them. The other more legendary version of this guy's life story is that when he was an adolescent, his family fell on hard times and he was forced to take to the streets of Constantinople to hustle his way to get enough money to pay for an education. These rumors will claim that he worked as a brothel tout, was the term at the time.
What?
Do you know what a brothel tout is?
I can guess. Is it a guy who goes? Is it like a person who barks people into a brothel? Like, hey,
Yeah.
we got sex tonight. Come on in.
You
no
nailed
cover,
it.
sex, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Wow.
Yeah, you
I should do that.
You know a lot about brothels. Yeah.
They have people. What if that's so sad? Barking into comedy shows is the worst thing, and then to do it for a brothel sounds just do they need that? I feel like people like sex, right?
Yeah, but they don't always know where the sex is, right?
True. And they don't know what time
maybe
it's
there's
happening.
a lot of competition.
What time
Yeah.
do the doors open for the sex? You gotta know.
There's fucking now?
You don't
Oh,
want to come
great,
early,
yeah.
and that was not meant to be a pun, but now it is. Okay.
No, but it was. Yeah.
Okay. So he was a brothel tout.
Yeah, so he's a brothel tout. And you'll find a lot of kind of poorly written and poorly researched articles about him that will claim he got to start as a pimp, and it's just because people haven't heard of a brothel tout. It was way lower level than a pimp. He was not getting a cut of these girls' money. He was getting paid to basically stand on the street and shout out the prices of different women in the brothel. You can fuck this, but it's $1 to, I don't know what brothel prices were like in Constantinople
I hope it's more
in the
than
late
that.
1800s. I don't know. I mean, that was a lot of money back then.
Sure.
Hardworking person ought to be able to afford a brothel. It was the kind of job that probably would have made a lot of sense for someone like Basil, because he was very cultured. He spoke a lot of languages. He was very charming, tall, and handsome. He's the kind of person you would want to be doing that job. He was good at talking people into things. He worked as a money changer too, and as a tourist guide, but he didn't find his first true calling until he got involved in the noble profession of firefighting.
Oh.
Now,
okay.
That sounds like it's normally a great thing to do, right? Working as a firefighter, one of the most noble professions you can embark upon. That was not his job in the fire department. His job was starting fires.
What?
So, in this period of time, the Constantinople Fire Brigade was basically a mafia. And in order to make money, they would burn down the houses of rich people and then basically solicit bribes to go get their valuables out. So they'd be like, oh, your house is on fire. That's a shame. Be good if somebody went in there and rescued your nice shit. And get paid. And it's pretty cool.
That's dark.
I mean,
were firefighters not provided? Were these bribes the way
No.
you bribe police, but it's still shady? Or were firefighters the type private industry where you have to pay them to come, like a plumber?
No, these were public.
Wow,
these
could you
were
imagine
public
if
employees.
they privatized the fire
this
industry?
was this would happen again. But that's why you don't do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That with all the fires that were going on in California, rich people hired firefighters.
Oh, damn.
So, I mean, this is there's a long history of this. Marcus Licinius Crassus, who was a Roman and one of the considered to be one of the wealthiest men in the ancient world, made a lot of his fortune by operating the fire department in ancient Rome, which was a private enterprise, and charging people while their houses were on fire to put the fires out. Yeah. So like this is like fire, like running firefighting like companies was like a thing that you would do if you were a real piece of shit for a very long time, because like the governments didn't do fuck all. Yeah, it's awesome.
Ooh.
But his job, so Basil was not putting out fires, he would start them.
Okay.
Which is like the easiest part of that gig, really. Like, I think I would have been very good at this job. Yeah. In 1865, a major fire tore through Constantinople, destroying 8,000 homes, 20 mosques, 5 churches, and numerous businesses. Roughly a quarter of the city was burned down. 20,000 people were rendered homeless, and an unknown number were killed. The Ottoman government responded with a vicious crackdown, arresting and trying and hanging numerous perpetrators. It is impossible to know if Zaharoff had anything to do with this, but his friends on the fire brigade later noted that he fled the city immediately afterwards and stayed away for 5 full years.
Seems guilty.
Maybe. So here's the thing. There's, again, as I said, there's different versions of all of this, and it's entirely possible that he fled the city because he committed a totally different series of crimes.
True.
Because he was, always criming. And I'm going to read to you about what those crimes were in this quote from the book Man of Arms, which is a biography of Zaharoff. In his late teens, it is generally accepted, a maternal uncle, Sevastopoulos, offered him a job in his cloth business in the busy Galata district by the port. The merchant was delighted with his astute and aspiring relation, and for 2 or 3 years, everything went well. Then, suddenly and mysteriously, the young man vanished, and for several years, all trace of his career vanished with him, conveniently creating one of those vacuums in his life which legend so avidly filled. One tale had it that he absconded with his uncle's cash, was caught, and sent to a prison from which he made his escape. It was even hinted that he had taken the life of a warder of a guard in this bid. The least sensational view was that he had committed some misdemeanor, but had managed to flee abroad with the proceeds to embark on a new career under another name. So, either he got in trouble for burning down a quarter of the city and had to flee, or he stole all of his uncle's money and had to flee. And it's also possible that he went to jail for stealing his uncle's money and then murdered a cop and had to flee. All of those things are possible. We don't know which is true. Or any of them. It might have been something totally different. That's the frustrating thing about writing about this guy. It's like really impossible to know what actually happened. And Basil himself only deepened the mystery by saying shit like this to interviewers later in life. Quote, "I have been lucky all my life. If I hadn't been, I should have been murdered long ago, or else serving a life sentence in some prison." So he would drop little lines like that just to keep the mystery alive.
So there's some buried bodies in his past that have not been found.
There are a lot of buried bodies in his past that everybody saw, because that's kind of the benefit of being an arms dealer, is you can get a lot of people buried and you're just doing your job.
True.
So, yeah.
He's just boosting those Q4 numbers, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like Teresa's
numbers
here just for me, because all her jokes are killing me. Robert, why aren't you as funny as Teresa?
I think it's because he's on a screen, so then I feel more compulsion to say things, but then they feel more, what's it called, non sequitur. So I will, and then Sophie's across from me, so she's laughing at me. But I'm paying rapt attention, Robert.
You're paying very close attention. That's good.
So he lied, okay. And
he lied.
We don't know what he did.
Everything he ever said is a lie. Okay. And we don't know what he did. These are the different stories. He may have been a prostitute barker and then an arsonist who fled the country. He may have stolen all of his uncle's money, might have murdered a cop. Who knows? By the early 1870s, though, we know that Zaharoff had made it to Great Britain. And we know this to a point of certainty because he almost immediately got arrested and in massive legal trouble over there. And there are thankfully court records. So this is the shit we absolutely know happened. During his travels to England, he met a young woman named Emily Burrows, who was the daughter of a Bristol-based businessman. And depending on which version of history you believe, Basil was either living off money stolen from his uncle or living there off money given to him for commodity speculation by a number of businesses back in Constantinople. Either way, when he meets this woman, Emily, he succeeds in passing himself off as a very wealthy foreign man, which he was not. But he was charming, and he had a nice suit, and no one had the internet, so he was able to get away with these lies. Emily falls in love with Basil. He proposed to her, and in short order, the couple were married in Paris. They quickly returned back to England to repeat the marriage ceremony in front of her family. Years later, Emily's niece Henriette recalled that this second ceremony was, quote, planned in a great rush. My aunt seemed agitated about something. She wanted to wait a little longer, but Basilius was pressing her to marry him. So Anthony Alfray, one of Basil's biographers, suspects that she might have been nervous because she hadn't told her parents about the first marriage that they'd had in Paris. But it's also possible that she'd started to suspect that her new beau might be a con artist, because he absolutely was. On the marriage register, he listed his name as Zacharias Gortsakov, which was a reference to Prince Michael Gortsakov of Russia. So he was claiming to be a Russian prince to this woman. That's why he's, He claimed that his dad, a rose oil salesman, was a high-ranking Russian general, and Basil himself claimed to be a general. And it's entirely possible that Emily didn't even know that her new husband had grown up in Constantinople and believed him to be a full-blooded member of the Russian nobility. For his part, Basil's interest in Emily probably had less to do with love than real estate. She was 4 years older than him, and her wealthy father was somewhat desperate to marry her off. So he'd set her up in a fashionable apartment right off of Belgrave Square in Bristol. Now, Basil was very much taken with her high-class home, and he wanted to live there himself. Unfortunately, once the two were wed, Emily's father started pushing for them to move back to the family home in the country. Basil resisted this because he was marrying this woman for her nice apartment. Yeah. So, for a little while, they lived very well together in that nice apartment. But that was not to last very long. And in a little bit, Teresa, I'm going to tell you what happened next, how Zaharoff got arrested, and how his first time in court went. But first, you know who won't lie to women and claim to be a Russian prince?
Who?
Raytheon. No. They will make a missile that's nothing but knives to assassinate people in Afghanistan and Yemen, but they will not pretend to be a Russian prince to romance a
Don't get them
wealthy
any
British
ideas.
woman. I mean, they would if they could, but Raytheon is notoriously bad at faking a Russian accent. That's one thing everyone knows. So, we're off to ads. Here we go.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love getting outside, whether it's a quick walk or a mindful few steps between meetings, or even a longer run to just clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that for me is shoes that just don't feel right. That's why I started wearing Ultra running. With the Ultra Fit, every step feels comfortable, balanced, and strong. Like my feet can finally move freely. What really stood out to me was the roomy toe box. My toes actually now have room to spread out, which makes movement feel more natural and comfortable. And when your feet aren't cramped, you feel more balanced, like every step has a strong, stable foundation. I've noticed that with extra space, my foot muscles get to work building strength, so I can actually move with more confidence. Ultra fits and moves with you no matter your pace or your goals. Beginner or marathon runner, they've really become my go-to for any kind of running or training, and I always feel like my feet can do exactly what they're meant to do. Feel the difference by visiting ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ultra, A-L-T-R-A, running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
You've never been one to settle. Stand down or stand still. You're a lifelong learner, energized by excellence. There's a fire inside you you can't ignore. You've got competition to outrun, momentum to build on, and your own high standards to meet. Stop now? Not a chance. At Capella University, we help you catch what you're chasing because you've always had the drive. Now, go earn the degree. Capella University. What can't you do? Visit capella.edu to learn more.
We're back. The podcast returns. The ads are done. So, I'm going to read another quote from the book Man at Arms about the early days of Basil's ill-fated marriage to Miss Emily. Quote, "In Hill Street they remained, the bogus Boyer, Miss Greenslade recalled, who is this woman's niece years later, accompanying himself on the piano and entertaining his wife and her niece with talk of life on the steps and the gay goings-on in the court of St. Petersburg. The idyll lasted little more than a month. Then, scenting trouble, perhaps alerted by news from Constantinople, Zaharoff persuaded his wife that it was imperative they leave the country. He gave the impression that he was engaged in important diplomatic missions for the Russian government and had acquired enemies who, abetted by the police, were on his tail. Accompanied always by the woman relating the story, this woman's niece, they moved to Brussels where they were royally treated. But unfortunately for Zaharoff and his new bride, the news of a wedding between this Russian prince and the high society Englishwoman had made international news. And businessmen in Constantinople who'd sent him over to England to make investments were really pissed to see this guy that they knew was a Greek businessman living the high life in England pretending to be a Russian prince. So these people he stole from basically see him in the paper and are like, that's not a fucking Russian prince. Yeah, so these businessmen had sent Zaharoff over to England with about £7,000 in merchandise and securities, which was somewhere in the ballpark of $1.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so he steals a lot from these people. They immediately sent a representative over to London to file charges, which is why Zaharoff had felt the need to flee Britain in the first place. Unfortunately for him, England and Belgium had just signed one of the world's first extradition treaties, and Prince Zaharoff quickly became the very first person arrested and extradited under it. So that's cool. Yeah, breaking new ground. Now, the new princess, his new wife, was not happy with this, but Zaharoff assured her it was all a terrible misunderstanding, just a case of mistaken identity, and promised he would take care of it very quickly, if only her wealthy father would help him with some of the legal bills in the short term while he put matters to right and got in touch with his royal family members back in Russia. In December, he went to court, charged with stealing 28 cases of gum and 109 bags of gall, along with the theft of 7... Yeah.
That's not what I expected him to have stolen.
Yeah, he stole, these were products they sent over as samples that he took with him and just sold in England, along with £7,000 worth of securities. Mm-hmm. Upon arrest, he had been found with the securities in the form of 24 Turkish bonds and a loaded revolver. The court asked Basil if he was often in the habit of traveling with thousands of dollars of other people's money and a loaded gun. He assured them that he had been traveling with a revolver regularly since the age of 7, which is a weird thing to brag to a court about. Do you always have stolen money and guns? Yeah.
That's don't worry. I've had a gun since I was a child, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah. No, I got a gun when I was a baby. It's fine. Yeah, don't freak out. And there's a court artist depiction of him giving his deposition, and it's pretty fucking great. I'm going to have Sophie show it to you now so you can get a look at how the court artist thought of this guy.
Okay. Let's see it. It looks like he's in a therapist's office.
Yeah.
He's very...
Yeah,
It's weird.
Yeah. That mustache,
his waist is very thin. His mustache and beard are pointed and
he's got a
very
Captain Hook vibe.
Yeah, kind of like a cross between Captain Hook and a New Yorker caricature of a fancy British person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, there are again two stories as to how this whole court case was resolved. Zaharoff would go to his grave claiming that he settled the matter in court when he found a lost letter from his uncle, the head of the firm that had hired him, stating that he should take the bond money as payment for his travel expenses and services rendered. And it does seem to be true that the aggrieved party who sued him was his uncle, but the rest of the story is probably a lie. Court records note that Prince Zaharoff was declared guilty of embezzlement, but only sentenced to pay about £100 in fines. This is likely because he agreed to pay restitution to the people he'd robbed, or rather, he got his new wife to pay back the people he'd stolen from. His biographer notes, quote, "All that is clear is that Zaharoff had made a promise of at least partial restitution, and there is little doubt parental indulgence so recently overtaxed of its probable source. Miss Zaharoff, the late Princess Gortsakov, nee Burrow," so like his wife who was pretending, like using the name Gortsakov, which was the fake name that this guy used. This and her husband's legal expenses, according to her niece, swallowed up her aunt's money. So basically, he has her pay back the people he stole from, so he gets to keep the money. And then as soon as he's released from jail, he flees England and abandons his wife, and also abandons the continents. Well, yeah, I mean, you're not really a grifter if you don't abandon at least one wife. Yeah.
It's crazy that I feel like she almost got out of it before or you said she had doubts before the second marriage.
Yeah, it seems like that she was starting to realize this guy was shady.
And then it's almost she had to just keep going because it's like, well, at this point, I better just see it through.
The sunk cost fallacy is applied to romance. Yeah, it makes fools of us all. So, now, obviously today, if you've got a grifter who gets in trouble in one country and caught in a grift and tried in court, you're going to flee to Mexico. That's just where you're going to go if you're a grifter in the modern era. But Mexico was not the place for grifters in the late 1800s. And so instead, Prince Zaharoff left for the United States, which was the Mexico of the 1800s in terms of being a place for grifters to go and absolutely be able to get away with anything. So yeah, he gets on a boat, fucks off to North America. He never divorced Emily. He basically just abandoned her to her family after taking all of their money. That's cool. Well, sorry, I should say he went to Cyprus.
Cool.
It's cool stuff. It's very complicated. This guy's the movements this guy goes through. But after some time in North America, he goes to Cyprus, this tiny Grecian island, and he founds a business and he starts a series of small enterprises operating a gradually expanding number of shops and importing exotic foodstuffs. And as his finances gradually improved, he started going back and forth to England again. And he never met with his wife. He would hide from her every time he was back in England on business. By the early 1800s, he took on a few small jobs selling rifles to the Greek government. He didn't at this point really take up arms dealing as a major trade, but it was certainly something he was willing to do a little bit of. He sold linens too. He catered barrackses for the British Army. His company laid down telegraph poles and train tracks. He got involved with shipping and was constantly investing in different markets during his trips to London. He lived pretty well off of this, but his businesses were constantly in one sort of debt or another, and his profits were always in the process of being reinvested into a new enterprise. He hatched a scheme to get the British government to let him run the development of Cyprus, which they controlled thanks to a shaky treaty deal with Russia and the Ottoman Empire.
Wait, he had the government let him develop this island?
He was trying to.
Wow.
He was trying to. He failed at it. So England was kind of in control of Cyprus due to these weird series of political events. And he was trying to get them to develop the island and let him run it. But that didn't end up working. Neither did a series of business ventures in Alexandria and then France and then back to the Mediterranean coast. And trying to keep track of all his businesses and plots in this period is impossible. There's just so much shit going on and so much doubt about it. What matters is that he was a serial entrepreneur. He's one of these guys that always has an angle, always has a business he's trying, always has an investment going on. And yeah, he was successful enough at this that he was able to dress well and live comfortably and put on the image of being wealthy, but he was also always on the edge of disaster and always had most of his assets invested into the next big thing.
Have you seen Uncut Gems?
No.
This reminds me of that movie.
Yeah? How so?
He's just constantly, Adam Sandler's character is constantly just getting in higher stakes gambling debt, and he'll finally get it back to pay someone, but instead of paying it back, he's I'm gonna gamble this on this new game, and then I'll make even more, and we'll both get paid. And he's just doing it more and more. And then at the end, well, I won't give it away, but gambling. Cool. Yeah, you can assume that it's how gambling happens. What happens when you gamble?
Yeah.
Generally,
this is kind of that story, but it for him, when he gambles too much, it helps start World War I. So a little bit more high stakes.
Wow. Okay, so we're going there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's where this shit goes. So Basil built a reputation as a man of scandal, and he left behind a constant stream of sobbing women and outraged families. I'm going to read you now a letter that he sent while he was in a hotel in Paris to one of his business partners. And this letter kind of gives you some insight into the way he conducted his relationships. And he's talking in this about like two women he met at the hotel and slept with. Quote, Miss Jeheran, whom I was fool enough to poke a few times immediately after my arrival at the hotel, had her knife in me, and Miss McCraith from my giving her up with the latter. You appear to be under the impression that Miss McCraith was divorced and I might marry her. You were wrong. I would not do so if she had millions. I poked her because it was my caprice. I poke her still, and when I want to change, I shall give her up. I am under no obligations to her or her family, as she costs me what an average whore would do, and I pay her in one way or another. And I have no doubt that if another man chose to court her and pay for it, he could have her if he paid more than me, and she would turn me up. So this is the way this guy talks about women.
This guy started the red pill.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's pretty gross.
Poke?
So shortly after...
Wow.
Yeah, poke.
That's the original
I didn't even realize
Facebook
that
poke.
was...
I didn't know people were... It just seems very current to be like, I poked her.
Yeah, it's weird to hear in like an 8... You expect people to be like, I don't know, what's a fancy way to say fuck? I lay with, stooped. That's not fancy at all. Yeah. So shortly after writing this, Zaharoff fell ill. He was diagnosed with anemia, and it's impossible to know what ailment he actually had because 1870s medicine was basically drunk guessing. His description of his doctor's orders for how to treat this ailment is entertaining, though. Quote, I am to avoid the least excitement, to take gentle exercise, and avoid all stares. And if I want to kill myself, I am to have a woman. This last is strictly enforced. I am to give up women altogether, and in fact avoid them so as to not get excited. His doctor says he's got to stop fucking after he gets sick.
Oh, it's a dick disease. He probably got an STD. Because they were like, if they said he can't get excited, not because of the heart, but because of his dick. Because it has to do with women, right?
Up. Yeah.
So maybe his dick burns, and when it gets hard, it hurts.
Might have gotten some of that chlamydias. I don't know. I don't know.
He got poke disease.
Yeah, he was poking too much, and his doctor said he had to stop it with the poking. So whatever illness actually affected him, Basil Zaharoff eventually recovered and continued his unsuccessful bouncing around the Mediterranean in search of a big score. By 1884, he'd given up on this quest and decided to take leave of the continent for good and try his luck in the United States of America. And I'm not going to kill myself by giving you an itemized list of every con and legitimate business that he dipped his fingers into. The Smithsonian Magazine gives a pretty good overview of Basil's time in the United States. Quote, it appears that he was the Count Zaharoff who in Utah in 1884 claimed to be in possession of 4 black diamonds that played a celebrated part in the Turco-Russian War, and who a year later caused a small scandal in Missouri by associating it with the notorious Madame Pearl Clifford, one of the most beautiful soiled doves ever known in St. Louis, while working as a superintendent of a local railway sleeping car company. He was certainly the Count Zaharoff who, hastily promoting himself to the eminence of Prince Zacharias Basilius Zaharoff, married the New York heiress Jeannie Billings for her $150,000 and her expectations later in 1885. So he bounces around, sells, gets involved in some sort of scheme pretending that he has these historic diamonds, runs a railway sleeping car company at some point. He's just constantly involved in these weird little get rich quick schemes. And then he marries this New York heiress and steals her money. So yeah. He definitely has a pattern. And I found a quote from the Omaha Daily Bee, an article at the time, written about him at the time, that describes his modus operandi during this period. Quote, he maintained a high social position by means of letters from prominent society people which purported to be genuine, and had a library full of documents which he claimed were written to him by European dignitaries. He claimed to be a nephew of Prince Gorchakov, and told a remarkable story of his banishment by the Tsar. At one point he created a considerable commotion among the set here, in which he moved by threatening to go abroad and fight a duel with a Prussian prince who dared to insult his mother. So... it's the same kind of lie. Like, I mean, there's no internet, so you just go over to America and just try a new set of lies on a new set of people. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like the bigger the lie, the less, like, he thinks, like, the less likely. It's like you think, like, oh, someone wouldn't lie about something that big. Like, you could easily find out if he was a prince. So it can't be a lie, so let's not look into it at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, if he was a prince, we would know that if he wasn't really a prince, it would be obvious that he was lying.
Someone would say he's not a prince.
Yeah. I do feel like in that period of time in America, if you had an accent that was vaguely European, most people would believe that you were royalty. As long as you wore a suit.
I think even like when I studied abroad with in college, it was like the girls went crazy for accents. It's like, you know, just have an accent. You can still be a bad person. They can still be mean to you. But they're like, no, the European accent, they're perfect and, you know, can do no wrong. Better than American men.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can get away with anything if you have the right kind of British accent. If you have the wrong kind of British accent, you can't get away with anything. Real crapshoot being English. So, Basil's scamming in America worked out well for a while, but as always, he was eventually found out. This time it was by a Philadelphia businessman who happened across another newspaper article announcing his marriage in New York, like that this woman in New York was getting married to this Russian prince. So this wedding between the Russian prince and a wealthy socialite was once again big news. And unfortunately for Basil, the businessman who came across this was originally from Bristol and was like, didn't I read a news article about a Russian prince marrying a rich woman? And then that guy got arrested for like stealing a shitload of money. So this guy reaches out to Basil's first wife over in England, and her family starts an international manhunt to arrest this bigamist. So Basil has to flee the United States so he's now fled 2 countries for marrying rich women and stealing their money while pretending to be a Russian prince. But he got out just ahead of the authorities. He managed to make it back to Europe as the law was closing in on him. He left behind his wife and a pile of debts once again, and by 1885 he was back in the Balkans, working for an old employer of his named Thorsten Nordenfelt. Now, Nordenfelt ran a sizable arms company. So he was a weapons manufacturer. And he was one of a number of up-and-coming businesses that were selling ever deadlier guns to the armies of Europe. Nordenfelt had employed Basil as a salesman briefly back in 1877, but the two had fallen out of touch over the years as Basil had fucked and scammed his way across multiple continents. But now that Zaharoff was back and looking for work, Nordenfelt Arms seemed as good a place to make money as any. And it's here we should talk a little bit about the global armaments industry. It didn't really exist for most of history. Early firearms were like artisanal tools. Each one was made by hand by like an artisan. And so like you couldn't really have gigantic gun companies in the same way you do now because you needed like some dude who
like
was
mass
good at making
manufacturing.
Guns. Yeah, it wasn't really possible with like early arms. Some firearms makers were like larger and more successful and like hired a lot of these artisans, but like international arms conglomerates the way we know them did not exist at the time. Which is a shame because it means that the good people of the late 1800s couldn't enjoy the fine products that the Raytheon Corporation makes, like that knife missile I told you about. I bet there's 1,000 things you could use a knife missile for, Teresa. If you had a knife missile, how would you use it?
I'm more of an artisanal weapons person. You know, I like to get my weapons at the farmer's market. I just think I like to look someone in the eyes when I'm buying a killing machine. You know, I want to be like, I want to know that hands, you know, I want to touch the hands that made it. I like twine guns, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Hemp.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Guns made of
farm
hemp.
to table drones.
Yeah. I like my farm
to table drone.
Yeah.
Excuse me, were these drones free range? I want my drones to be played classical music while they're being made.
Yeah. I only local bullets. I am not going to like I'm not. I don't want to murder the environment. Just these random people I've decided are my enemies. Yeah. Well, if you enjoy artisanal killing machines, then you'll enjoy the fine products and services that support this podcast.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love getting outside, whether it's a quick walk or a mindful few steps between meetings, or even a longer run to just clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that for me is shoes that just don't feel right. That's why I started wearing Ultra Running. With the Ultra Fit, every step feels comfortable, balanced, and strong. Like my feet can finally move freely. What really stood out to me was the roomy toe box. My toes actually now have room to spread out, which makes movement feel more natural and comfortable. And when your feet aren't cramped, you feel more balanced, like every step has a strong, stable foundation. I've noticed that with extra space, my foot muscles get to work building strength, so I can actually move with more confidence. Ultra fits and moves with you no matter your pace or your goals. Beginner or marathon runner, they've really become my go-to for any kind of running or training, and I always feel like my feet can do exactly what they're meant to do. Feel the difference by visiting ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ultra, A-L-T-R-A, running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
You've never been one to settle. Stand down or stand still. You're a lifelong learner, energized by excellence. There's a fire inside you you can't ignore. You've got competition to outrun, momentum to build on, and your own high standards to meet. Stop now? Not a chance. At Capella University, we help you catch what you're chasing because you've always had the drive. Now, go earn the degree. Capella University. What can't you do? Visit capella.edu to learn more.
We're back. So, talking about the arms industry in the late 1800s. I'm going to read a quote from Smithsonian Magazine, kind of laying out the state of the industry at the time. It was not then a huge industry. Best known was perhaps Alfred Krupp, the cannon maker of Essen. At 10, he inherited a modest iron foundry from the old Frederick Krupp, who had started it in 1823. At 14, Alfred went into the business and slowly took over its direction. Cannon were made of copper. Alfred perfected a solid crucible steel block from which he made cannon, but he had not yet perfected any projectile capable of penetrating the intransigent mentality of military bureaucrats. Cannon were made of copper, had always been, and must always be. Herr Krupp learned from the start that the way to sell cannon to the Prussian king was to sell them also to Prussia's neighbors and enemies. He made his first sales to Egypt, then to Austria. When the Austro-Prussian War began, both armies fired Krupp's cannonballs at each other, and his guns would have been working in both armies in the Franco-Prussian War, but for Napoleon III's refusal to buy them. Krupp's cannon made Bismarck's swift victory possible. So this is like the first big armed manufacturer is Krupp. And by the mid-1800s, like, the industry was starting to grow, in part because of Krupp. Modern firearms made by companies like Winchester and Martini had also started to sweep into the world's wars.
Bay Area.
Yeah, exactly. Bay Area company. See, shoot
right,
local.
That house is right by Winchester Mystery House. Shout out to San Jose. Is right by where my parents live.
Shout out to San Jose, and if you're in California and you're going to kill people, make sure it's with a Winchester rifle. Yeah, that's important.
No, don't listen to that.
Robert, for fuck's sake.
Just don't kill people. Cool.
But if you do, kill local.
Robert.
That's, as a Texan, I use Raytheon because it's made outside of Plano, Texas. So I know that if I'm going to drone strike somebody, I'm going to drone strike them with a drone made right down the road by the same artisans that I meet in line at the Trader Joe's before they go build missile guidance systems. That's good, It's like
keep killing local. That's what we want in our community.
Yeah, kill low. Well, no, this is too dark a line of things.
No, don't do that.
So yeah, like the American Civil War had a big impact on like the growth of the arms industry at this time because like you start to see mass-produced weapons that are like way deadlier than guns had ever been before, and suddenly all these nations in Europe start wanting to buy them. There's fighting between Greece and Russia and Serbia and Turkey and the Balkans, and like this spreads the development of new cannons and new firearms and spreads their adoption by the armies of Europe. This is kind of the state of the industry in 1885 when Basil gets involved in it. So like it is starting to explode, but you're still at this point where like the idea of massive international arms companies is kind of weird and new. And Zaharoff was initially commissioned to act as the Nordenfelt Arms corporate representative for the Balkans. He received £5 a week in salary plus commissions. Basil, being an entrepreneur, instantly realized that selling a handful of guns at a time to a single country was not going to earn him the kind of money he desired to make. So, taking a leaf out of Krupp's book, he decides that he should start selling guns by triggering arms races. That like this is the way to make fucking money. If you want to sell a lot of guns, you make an arms race. Nordenfelt was not a large manufacturer, but they traded in some very novel weapons systems, including a brand new submarine that had just been invented. Now, submarines were really new at the time, and they weren't very well understood, and they usually killed the people inside of them. You wouldn't want to be a submarine person in this time.
Okay.
But they were also like the new sexy weapons system. Like, so they represented a huge opportunity because like no one really had them yet. And here's how the biography Man of Arms describes what Basil did next. Quote, many years later, Zaharoff recounted his part in opening up this market. I sold a submarine to the Greeks, and then, he added with a conventional chuckle, I went to the Turks and sold them a couple. Russia presented the next obvious target. From a less reliable source, we learned that Zaharoff, with bland impudence, expounded the situation as he saw it to the Navy minister in St. Petersburg. My firm is the agent of no one power. The Turks have brought 2 submarines from my firm. In the event of war, the Turkish Navy can, thanks to these submarines, minish your ships in the Black Sea and strike you where you least expect them. What the Turks possess, you too can have, in greater numbers if you wish. I propose that while 2 submarines are sufficient for the local needs of a small power like Turkey, 4 should be necessary for your own great security as a great power. Legend relates that Russia fell for this logic. This would have made a total of 7 submarines, which is a lot of money for him. So he sparks like a minor submarine arms race between 3 countries.
He's like a high school girl that's like trying to start drama where you go up to like 2 best friends and you're like, oh, I heard so-and-so, I heard Becky's, say that she doesn't like you. And then they're like, oh, Becky's a bitch. And then you go to Becky and you're like, I heard Kelsey, blah, blah. And now they're like fighting, but they weren't if it wasn't for him.
I mean, that makes me think that teenage girls would actually be incredible arms dealers.
I think teenage girls would make excellent intelligence officers because all of the CIA and intelligence companies, organizations do is they're just gossiping. That's all they're doing. They're meeting up, just exchange secrets and make little alliances. And we should use never mind. I take that back. Let's not use teenage girls for anything, but let's harness their power.
The CIA does listen to this podcast a lot, so maybe they'll take you up on that. Yeah, harnessing teenage girls.
Harness some teenage girls. Not literally.
The submarines that Zaharoff sold were notoriously shitty and basically death traps. And they were renowned as being death traps by the standards of late 1800s submarines. So like in the era where all submarines are death traps, everyone's like, but don't get in those fucking submarines because they're terrible. But he makes a lot of money selling them. This fact that he sold 7 submarines and got a cut of the commissions, obviously, generated him a tidy profit and turned him instantly into one of the most influential minds within the Nordenfelt Arms Company. Zaharoff basically codified his strategy of selling arms to one country, to panic another, to then panic another, so he could sell arms to them all. He came to basically turn this into he called it the Systeme Zaharoff. So he names this thing he did to spark arms races.
Like the Sistine Chapel? Is that what?
No, system with an E at the end.
Oh.
Like the Zaharoff
he was
system.
naming it like a masterpiece.
No, he is kind of naming it like a masterpiece. He's like, when he goes into corporate meetings, he's like, the thing you gotta do is spark an arms race. That's how you fucking make bank with this shit. And I'm the guy who invented it, even though he's kind of stealing that from Krupp. Because he's, a scammer. So having cornered the Mediterranean submarine market, Zaharoff next set his sights on a more ambitious goal, the European machine gun industry. Hiram Maxim, the American arms maker who invented the Babe Ruth of weaponry meant to kill large numbers of European teenagers, had just arrived on the continent. Maxim was demonstrating his new quick-firing Maxim gun, which worried Nordenfeldt since their own quick-firing gun was really shitty. Zaharoff knew at once that Maxim's single-barreled machine gun was way better than the one that Nordenfeldt made, and in the tradition of all great businessmen, he decided that if you can't beat him, join him. No one is 100% certain how Basil convinced Hiram Maxim to merge his company with Nordenfeldt, but H.G. Wells wrote out one of the explanations of this. So this is H.G. Wells talking about how Zaharoff achieved this coup. Quote, Maxim exhibited his gun in Vienna. When he fired his gun at a target and demonstrated its powers, Zaharoff was busy explaining to expert observers that the whole thing was an exhibition of skill, that only Maxim could fire the gun. It would take years to train men to use it, that these new machines were delicate and difficult to make and could not be produced in quantities, and so forth. Maxim, after tracing the initials of the emperor upon a target, prepared to receive orders. They were not forthcoming. He learned that Nordenfeldt was simple and strong. This gun of his was a scientific instrument, unfit for soldierly hands. His demonstration went for nothing. What had happened? He realized he was vis-a-vis with a salesman, a very formidable salesman. In the end, he amalgamated with the salesman. So Zaharoff is like, I can't beat this guy's gun, so I'll lie to everyone about him until he realizes he's basically just got to work with me. Otherwise, he's not going to succeed in selling any guns.
That's such a classic manipulation move because he's like, that gun sucks, don't buy that gun. And then once they join, he's like, now I have your gun. And now he's like, it's good again. Now we're selling it, so it's good.
No, this is the best gun. Super easy to use. You can kill so many teenagers with this gun. If you want to kill teenage British people, this is the gun.
Robert.
So, what?
Stop.
It killed so many teenage British people. This is World War I, Sophie.
Yes, but don't say if you want to.
I mean,
I'm staying out of this domestic dispute.
If you want to kill the most European conscript soldiers possible, you want a Maxim machine gun. And they do sponsor this podcast.
Jesus. Robert.
So, this happened in 1886, and over the next couple of years, Nordenfeldt himself increasingly bowed out of the company he'd founded, while Basil Zaharoff took control of much of the enterprise. And it's hard to overstate what a big deal this is. So, Maxim Nordenfeldt Arms quickly becomes Maxim. It's just known by the name Maxim because their gun is like the defining weapon of the age. And Maxim under Zaharoff becomes one of the very, very first massive international gun companies, international arms companies. And they sold a huge variety of weapons to parties in multiple hemispheres. The additional reach the merger gave Zaharoff meant it was even easier for him to spark arms races all over the world. And I'm going to quote from the Smithsonian again here. The next step was a combination with Vickers, Thomas Vickers, the second largest English manufacturer of arms. Maxim became a member of the Vickers board of directors. Zaharoff's name did not figure into the organization at all, but he and Maxim, in some proportion unknown to history, got for their company from Vickers £1.3 million, or over $6.5 million, partly in cash and partly in stock for the Vickers company. Zaharoff thus became a substantial stockholder in Vickers and would one day be the largest of all. He also became the chief salesman of Vickers, which, unlike Krupp and Schneider, had remained up to this point out of the international market. But Zaharoff showed the way in this bountiful field, and therefore he got moving about Europe with a card announcing himself as the delegate of Thomas Vickers and Sons. So the period from 1877 to 1914, when he's the chief representative of like the big one of probably the biggest arms company in the world, was also the period where the world went through the most significant arms buildup that has ever happened. New technologies were being constantly invented and refined, and every nation in Europe was like worried about fighting every other nation in Europe. So they all were buying up piles of Maxim guns and Krupp cannons and like all of the weaponry they could possibly get. And Zaharoff himself drove this trend. In 1890, his Vickers guns became the sole supplier of naval weaponry for the British Empire. They bought a controlling interest in Beardmore's shipbuilding firm in Glasgow, which gave the gigantic arms concern Zaharoff managed a cut of the fortune that Britain spent building up her navy. Now, Britain's naval buildup was driven largely by Kaiser Wilhelm's obsessive need to grow the German navy, which was steadily encouraged by Krupp. So, like, the German arms company Krupp is telling the leader of Germany, like, you got to build more ships. And Basil's being like, hey, the Germans are building more ships. We got to build more ships. And it just so happens that I get a cut of every ship built. So both corporations profited massively from this naval buildup, which also ratcheted up tensions between Imperial Germany and Great Britain.
Is this
all over the world?
Before, were planes invented here, or is this all via boat?
Yeah.
Like, okay. So because I'm just imagining, like, because when you say, like, he went to this country and said this and went to this country, I'm imagining, like, him getting on a boat, taking a long time to get there, and then being like, here's some gossip, buy this, and then, like, getting back on, like, it's very slow.
It's very slow. He's not taking planes. There are planes in this period, and a little later we'll talk about how he started convincing countries to buy air forces.
How does one transport a submarine? Like, once it's bought, like, does someone drive it over to Germany?
I think they were probably built in the Mediterranean and then just like sailed over to where they were going.
So then it's like delivery day, Amazon
like
delivery. Your U-boats are here.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon will get a U-boat to you way faster now. I mean, they've gotten so much better at delivering submarines. Both Krupp and Maxim profited massively from the naval buildup that just, also ratcheted up tensions in Europe and got both countries closer to fighting each other. And Zaharoff continued to sell arms to both sides of conflicts and wars all over the world, using the cynical tactics of the system he had designed to ensure ever-growing profits while the world lurched closer and closer to cataclysm. I found a really interesting book called Men of Wealth by a guy named John Flynn that does a good job of illustrating how this web came together. Quote, events favored them, the Spanish-American War, the Chinese-American War, the English-Boer War, in which the Tommies, armed with Vickers rifles, were scientifically mowed down with Maxim's machine gun or quick-firing cannon, supplied to the Boers by Mr. Zaharoff of Vickers. But the greatest opportunity was the Russo-Japanese War. When it ended, all of Europe's war ministries awoke. The war had been a great proving ground for guns and ships, a laboratory for militarists. Above all, Russia had to start at the bottom and completely rebuild her shattered armies. The Tsar provided over $620 million for rearming. All the armament makers in the world flocked to St. Petersburg. Zaharoff, representing Vickers, arrived first on scene. So, like, he's the official arms manufacturer of the British Army, and he's selling guns to the Boers who are murdering British soldiers. And then he sells a bunch of weapons to the Japanese, who then beat the Russians in a very surprising war. And the fact that Japan, this, like, third-rate power in the eyes of Europeans, beats Russia in this war leads to all these nations buying even more guns, because they're like, oh, shit, Japan can do that stuff to Russia. They might be able to do it to us. We got to buy more weapons. And the Russians are like, we need to buy way more fucking weapons. So, like, he's very successful in getting everybody to continue buying way the fuck more guns. And what Basil Zaharoff did in St. Petersburg would establish him as the greatest arms dealer of his era, and perhaps of all time. It would also help make the horrible bloodletting of the First World War completely inevitable. But that story, Teresa, we're going to have to talk about in part 2.
Oh, no.
How are you feeling so far?
Well, I mean, like, I know how... I know part of how it ends because I know we're getting up to the war. So, so I'm just like, I want to put those dots together. Can't wait.
Yeah, is good. It's a good time. We're at the part right now where I don't know. He's helped spark a couple of wars, but not nearly as much as he's gonna do. But for now, it's time for all of you to go off and try to provoke your own wars in Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe.
He means it's time to plug your pluggables, Teresa.
Yeah, it is time to plug your pluggables.
Oh, my pluggables. I was like, wait,
your
what's
pluggables?
Yes. Sorry, I thought this was like I thought you were doing a sponsored ad for Glade pluggables.
No.
My pluggables. Oh, well, you can listen to my podcast. You can tell me anything where comedians like Robert, who's been on before, confess something they've never told anyone before. I guess if this guy Basil was on, it'd be all lies. But generally speaking, people tell truths and then we talk. It's fun.
You know what else is fun, Teresa?
What?
The fine products produced by great companies like Raytheon.
What Robert means to say
farm-to-table
Robert,
missiles full of knives. What?
Okay, what Robert means to say is that he's doing a live show with Billy Wayne Davis in Los Angeles on March 3rd at Dynasty Typewriter. You should get tickets.
And we will be selling artisanal arms there.
We will not be doing anything of that nature. You can follow Robert on Twitter at iWriteOK.
All I'm saying is...
You can follow our podcast at BastardsPod on Twitter and Instagram.
And if you're Greece or Turkey and you want to buy some submarines, we'll have a couple of submarines.
That's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. Chris, end it.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love being outdoors, even if it's just stepping outside for a bit of fresh air between meals or taking a mindful walk to clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that is when my feet feel cramped in my shoes. So I switched to ultra running, and honestly, it makes such a difference. What I love most is their signature Ultra Fit Comfort Balance Strength. They have this roomy toe box that lets my toes actually spread and move naturally, so I really appreciate that. And I feel more grounded and balanced with every single step. It's like my feet can finally do their job, using all those little muscles that make me feel stronger the more I move. Whether you are a marathon runner, beginner or advanced, or just getting outside to train, Ultras have become my go-to for running and moving mindfully. They fit so well, they're so comfortable, and they just move with you. Shop now at ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ALTRA running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
A BetterHelp ad. We get it. February is full of flowers, candy, and, of course, lots of talk about relationships. It can feel like everyone else has it all together in their love lives. But the truth is, we're all still figuring it out. Whether you're working on your marriage, navigating the dating apps, or prioritizing staying single, no matter where you are, you're right on time. Therapy can help you find your way and take some of the pressure off yourself so you can determine what you want, what feels heavy, and how you can feel lighter. Just a little bit of outside perspective from a professional can lead to new understanding and a lot of progress. So the next time you're feeling iffy about your love life, try therapy with BetterHelp and see where it takes you. And remember, you're right on time. Visit BetterHelp.com for 10% off. That's BetterHelp.com.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.